Hi there, Tim Alden here. Today we're going to show you how to carve this sunflower spur strap pattern. It goes with our R6 Special Spurstrap. You can get the template for this as a PDF. You can buy the template as a hard copy in plexiglass, or you can just buy the pre-cut blanks that we sell. I went ahead and I already traced the pattern on. I got packing tape on both sides of my printout, just so the water from the leather doesn't screw up this. You can reuse the pattern. Anyway, you'll notice that I didn't cut my border before I traced it on. And the reason being, this is a hand-drawn 1/4 inch border. It might not be perfect. So usually when I'm doing something like that, I will just put it in and then I'll cut my border afterwards with my easy border tool. And with this flower here in the corner, we're gonna have the border start right here, and we're just gonna come around here. Right here, we're going to stop the border because this petal jumps out. I'm going to pick it up on the other side, and then we're just going to stop right there because that petal's jumping out there. Go ahead and cut our border here as well. And for the front border here, I just made a little template that you can roll around. You can trace it off of that pattern. I made a tap off, that way I don't have to trace it, and I can use it for stamped patterns that I'm not tracing, or that I'm not going to trace a floral pattern on with the border. So we'll go ahead and cut this interior line real quick. And we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to cut our flower centers here. We'll use a seeder to roll around and seed these flowers, but we're going to cut them. We're going to bevel them, make them stand up. Main thing is paying attention to what petal is dominant. Now always remember, we cut when it's on the wet side, and we bevel and tool on the dry side. So we got that carved out there. Go ahead and hit this other one with a little more water. Get it cut out too. So these lines can be a little bit confusing with overlapping petals, but just as long as you pay attention and go slow, you should be all right. I generally like to cut my dominant petals first in these sunflowers. This little guy here, if you're going to line and stitch these, you might want to shrink that back just so it doesn't run across your stitch line. Okay, got all that cut out. We can go ahead and start beveling. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use our 16-ounce Berry King small maul. And I'm just going to go ahead, start out with this one in the corner and work my way across. So we're holding that beveler slightly tipped forward. That way it doesn't push that line forward. And we just want to remember the flat part of the beveler is towards the element that we're beveling. And so if it's a leaf, flat spot is towards that leaf. If it's a border, flat spot is towards that border. And so for making things easy, just going to roll around everything that I can see the flat part of that tool easy with. I'll bevel those first, and I'll turn my work and get all the other sides. So I might start a little bit lighter at that flower center. It's going to get veiner in there. Got that one pretty much beveled out. Work our way across. Going to be our petal coming in from the other flower, intertwining with this side. Go back. that wasn't cut in there, but we're just going to go ahead and bevel that in. Okay, we've got that flower. So when I roll around a tighter corner with a beveler that's just kind of pushing the borders of too big, I'll tip it off and you'll use that corner. And then with these fold overs, you just want to kind of lighten up at that tail end and draw it in. So right here, I'm just going to start here. I'm going to bevel that leaf and then show you real quick. That's where that is going to make a transition from the border, and this flower being below, coming out of that border, and then just rolling out around that. Okay, so now that we got all of those beveled out, we're just going to finish up this border here. Jump up to our number 3 checkered beveler. Once again, I'm pushing the boundaries of the beveler side, so I'm just tipping it off to the side to roll around interior curves. Okay, we've got our bevel done. So I'm going to go ahead and background this just to kind of define what areas are leaves and what areas aren't. We've got a 5 seed, number 35 bar grounder from Berry King. And it can kind of get confusing with all these petals in here. And so I'm going to start out here, just kind of work my way across. It's still a little bit wetter than I like to background, so I'm not going to drive it home. Just going to fan that out. So we're going to go up next to that petal coming in here. Work our way back. And so here, that petal's coming in there. So we're going to leave that alone. I'm just going to have a little bit of background in here. That tool to where we just get a little bit right in there, and that should be it for our backgrounding. Put just a touch of water on here. So we're going to start out and we're going to shade our petals first here. And so I like to use number 1 vertical line thumbprint to shade out from these flower petals. You can get flower center liner, but I just like to use this. And you'll notice I go pretty deep up against that flower center, and I'm just going to move it along. And I leave a high spot on each side just to give some depth to that flower. And once I get my first pass right down there, I'll bring it out a little bit and tip it out. Get those lines radiating out through the flower. And the further you get from the flower center, the flatter you want to hold that tool. That way you don't end up marking across this back. Now that we got that one shaded, go to this one. Okay, so now that we've got all our petals shaded coming out of the flower center, we're going to come back with our smooth thumbprint that we roughed up just a little bit so we can get more burnish out of it. And we're going to do the shading on the petal tips. And so I just kind of mirror what's going there. Pretty steep angle, tipped up, so you get a nice dark impression. There's not much. That one's sticking out. If you want, you can kind of run this down just a little bit. This petal that's turning over here, kind of come out from under it. I'm going to shade just so slightly and roll it around. There, just get some depth out of that. Draw that down a little bit. Do a little bit on that petal that's folding over. shade this pretty heavily where it's ducking under there. And creating a little more shading, giving that depth that it's tucking under there. See that real dark burnish right here? That comes from roughing this up. You're going to get a lot more color, and you can create depth with that color. Okay, now that we've gotten that, I'm going to go ahead and use our lifter right under here. So number 2 Berry King lifter here. Create a little more depth. And next we're going to go to our number 2 lined veiner. And then we're just going to put these in here by our flower centers, and the curve goes with the dominant petal. And it's not the same curve as the tool, so you got to tip it off just to use the corner. Otherwise, it'll run out across that petal. So we're just using the corner of it to create a little depth here. Okay, so once we've gotten those done, one thing I'm going to do with my flower centers before I run my cedar on them, so we have this hard crisp edge here that we've beveled, And so I'm just going to take my stylus and roll that edge just a little bit, round it up. Same thing here. And take our Berry King lined seed. So I'm just going to start with this corner over here, and I tip my tool to the outside. I want it to hit darker on the outside than on the inside. I'm going to tuck them pretty close together. Try not to overlap them if I don't have to. Once I get the outside done, I'm going to start on the other side again. Just come in a little bit. And we're just going to continue to roll around, tipping them to the outside. And if this was a complete flower center, I would just roll all the way around. Try to give as much dome to that as possible. There we have our flower centers finished up. Last but not least, we're going to do some swivel knife work. Okay, so we got our swivel knife sharp and we're ready to roll. So I'll start out with these on the outside. I'm just going to put a little cut, kind of a mirror image of what's going on there. This one, kind of the same thing. Put a little bit of a cut, rolling on the top. These cuts, they don't have to be super coarse, they just need to hold some antique. Put a little cross hatching coming out from under this petal shading. We're going to do the same thing on this one. These lines are just kind of radiating out from here. Group cross hatching. Okay, add a little bit of water to this. Then we'll do our Deco cuts coming out of the flower center. Just a little bit to make it easier to cut. Got one starting out deep and lightening up. Crosshatch tapering off on the center line. Nice long cut in the middle. Gradually getting shorter on the sides. Looks like this side's done. Well, thanks for stopping by. Hope you like this video. I really enjoyed carving this out for you. It's a cool, simple pattern that it's great for beginners, or, you know, it's sunflowers are really trendy. So whether you're a beginner or not, it might be something that you can make and sell and enjoy carving out. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to share these videos with your friends. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook. And if you feel like sticking around, I'm going to go ahead and carve this out. It's the same principles as we used on the bigger piece, so don't feel obligated. Have a great day. Okay. So one quick little tip here. You can see I hit my backgrounder over the border. Whenever you do this, you can take your smooth lifter and just use it like an eraser. Just go ahead and rub that out. Nobody will ever know.